Crocodile tears, crocodile tears. The access and shill media is crying big time over the loss of the Acolyte, and you won't believe why they are so sad. It seems that those so-called journalists, well, they fear that the cancellation of such a sucky show as the Acolyte means that Disney might just go back to making normal Star Wars. Hello folks, welcome back to a very normal channel. I don't know, we're sort of abnormal because we try to tell the truth. How about that? Folks, we're happy that you're here with us. We'd like to share the truth with you as best as we possibly can. Today we're talking about how the Acolyte was canned and how that then triggered a lot of people who are so easily triggered every single time because they're angry that nobody watched the show. Now they're crying. They're trying to find some way to defend the Acolyte. And all the while, we wonder, why didn't they just, I don't know, increase the viewership by convincing others to watch it? Seems crazy, right? Instead of, I don't know, creating massive campaigns on social media that had nothing to do with actually engendering goodwill towards the show. Don't blank around with our discourse. You remember that? Oh, that was so much fun. Well, folks, it turns out that Disney doesn't like it when you blank around with their viewership ratings, with their subscriptions on Disney+, and that's why the Acolyte is canned. But journalists can't stand that. So let's bring up some examples today, specifically from IndieWire, and a panel that will have their way with the ridiculousnvet of it all. The Acolyte tried something new. Its cancellation doesn't bode well for the future of Star Wars, says IndieWire Christian Blauvelt. Blauvelt? I guess. Leslie Headland's show was flawed, but it expanded to what Star Wars could be. Without big swings like that, it's hard to know where Star Wars goes from here. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. We may have to savor this as I read it. Here we go. There is every indication that, as of San Diego Comic-Con just weeks ago, Lucasfilm was planning on a future for the Acolyte. Except we said here that wasn't happening. Instead, on August 19th, Deadline first reported that the Disney Plus Star Wars prequel series was canceled. So it's strange that at Comic-Con on July 26th, the annual Stories from Galaxy Far, Far Away panel showed that Lucasfilm Publishing had invested a great deal in the Acolyte. Oh, they invested poorly? I'm shocked. With multiple new tie-in books and comics related to the show. Random House Worlds will be publishing a novel in 2025. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares about any of that. All right. And yet, canceled the show is, despite a hell of a cliffhanger ending that saw Amandla Steinberg's Osha turn to the dark side and join Jacinto's Sith Lord as his Acolyte. That introduced Darth Plagueis. Oh, what will we ever do not knowing what happened to Darth? Glimpse just from the shadows and promise of more stories to come, i.e. he was lurking in their bedroom like a weirdo. That also included a tantalizing glimpse of Master Yoda, i.e. now we don't have to watch him be destroyed as well. The series was set 100 years before The Phantom Menace, meaning that showrunner Leslie Headland had a wide canvas to work with and little pre-existing canon to worry about navigating, and yet still she brought in Yoda and Darth Plagueis because, well, you know. Even more than these specific teases of where the show would have gone or these specific publishing tie-ins, The Acolyte was the live-action series culminating of 3.5 years of an initiative spearheaded by Lucasfilm Publishing called The High Republic. You know, it strikes me, guys, this show is as successful as the line of novels, which consider the Jedi at their zenith before the Sith started to erode their influence. Dozens of books and comics preceded The Acolyte as part of The High Republic. What? You mean The High Republic marketing build-up to this was not successful? I thought it was a Times bestseller. And The Acolyte was almost conceived as a coda of sorts to the whole storytelling initiative that no one ever cared about, which launched with Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi in January 2021. This show would be the specific story about how the Sith came out of the shadows to stand against the Jedi once more. Take a look at this, folks. This keeps going and going and going and going. It is amazing. It is impressive. And what is it all about? It's all about saying the Acolyte tried something new. It doesn't bode well for Star Wars that new didn't work. We don't know what to do if new doesn't work. How can it expand? Well, dear IndieWire, dear Christian, I have an idea. Go back to what was working before Disney bought the property. Could we try that? Because we haven't tried that. All we've done is subvert expectations. All we've done is switch this from a boy-based franchise to a girl-based franchise. All we've done is destroy the legacy and retcon the original ideas and ideals of George Lucas. Here's an idea. Why don't we try not that? Just once and see what happens. Just once. Panel, are the crocodile tears real, or is this the shill media trying to figure out a way to dance around the failure of a show that was always a failure, but they could not acknowledge it, and now they're sort of in this weird spot?
You know, if we talk about that religious aspect here, and of course that Black Myth Wukong just came out, and the reviews that have come out for that they literally list the lack of diversity in a game that appears to be authentically Chinese. You know, I really think that there were, on paper, I think the Acolyte checked a lot of boxes in the way that a message film would be like something like a God's Not Dead for the Christian audience, something that it is, you know, a story that would probably, and forgive me if I'm insulting someone who worked on the film here, a story that is pretty much only of appeal to someone who was already in the tank in some way. I think that the Acolyte checked so many boxes and was all of the things that people are quote unquote looking for, but not really looking for as far as audience goes, that I think that there's an entire subset of the audience that doesn't want to admit that they thought this show was complete garbage.
Big time. IGN just put out an article that was like, fans of the Acolyte loudly voiced their outrage at the show being canceled, and I just responded to it with the Tobias Fumke gif of, there are dozens of us. Dozens, but they are being very loud about it. And here's the thing: these people that are saying about how it doesn't bode well, and it's the fault of channels like us, or you know, people that were like loudly decrying it on social media, that has nothing to do with the fact that it was canceled. They don't care about discourse. They don't care about reviews. What matters is that the return on investment wasn't there. They put out way more money and got nothing back. That's why it got canceled. That's the only reason it got canceled, is money.
You know what doesn't seem to work, Marvin? This.
Logic?
At least that's what I hear.
Wait, what?
What?
There are
Yeah,
more of us.
Spit take doesn't seem to work. The shill media is not successful in their efforts to save Star Wars. They couldn't save the Acolyte. They can't save Boba Fett. Nobody's paying attention to any of this, and it's even more pronounced in the gaming industry. So I think this is beginning to. I think we're starting to see the collapse of the propagandistic drive-bys. At least I'm hopeful that we're starting to see their collapse, and maybe that will explain why they are jaded and angry, because they see this. The writing's on the wall. They sided with the corporations, and they gave up their relevance. They gave up their audience, and they gave up their influence. And if you don't have influence, you're not an influencer. And if you don't have the title of influencer in a legitimate way, that the corporation has no need for you anymore. So the corporation convinced them to drop the influence that gives them the access to the corporation in the first place. What a terrible cycle for these people.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I saw one lady on Twitter today who was like, oh, you know, the Acolyte's canceled. Eternals 2 is canceled. Shuri's going to be abdicating the Black Panther title to T'Challa Jr. I'm starting to see a trend in Hollywood. And she was saying it as a negative. And of course, everybody was like, yeah, we are. And she got so mad because, like, it's what you say all the time, Pro. It's the mainstream middle, the sensible center. That's what we need to, that's what Hollywood needs to focus on. And they're focused on these niche audiences that don't have the volume to show up in the numbers needed to generate profit.
Right. But did they even care about, go ahead.
I think about the fact that they think that YouTubers hating a show moves the needle on whether or not people watch it. People obviously showed up for the start of this show, and if they liked it, no matter what the public perception was for the show, they would have continued to watch throughout the entire season. This did not have a build towards the end the way that Andor did, where people weren't interested at the start and more people watched it towards the end. The Acolyte had a very specific drop-off. And I would say that the Acolyte was given a better chance because of the rumors that were put forward by Chris Gore from Film Threat and people who had already seen it, saying that there are big things going on that will break the franchise. And I think it ended up that instead of going out with a bang, it went out with a whimper. Like there was a little boost at the end from people finishing this up. But I don't think YouTubers have nearly as much influence as they would like when they're smoking this copium right here.
Well, I think Film Threat and Chris Gore actually did probably boost the viewership by saying this is going to radically alter Star Wars.
Right. It got a lot of people interested in it, and got a lot of people like, let's see the train wreck. You know what I mean? That kind of like, hey, look, there's an accident. Let's watch.
There are phases when an IP dies. It starts with, disillusionment and sadness. It moves on to anger, and then it hits that final stage, and that's where Star Wars is now, and that is apathy. No one cares anymore. They're not even hate watching or anger watching. They're just not watching. That's where Star Trek is. That's where Doctor Who is. And Star Trek has just arrived, and Marvel is on the way unless they do something.
Well, that's a great point. And that makes me wonder, as they write these articles, I don't think there's going to be very much viewership on these articles. We might do commentary on some of these articles to kind of, mock the faux outrage. But in terms of people actually joining in with them and being as incensed as they seem to be, I don't think that's happening. I think people genuinely don't care.
That was the question I wanted to bring up, actually, is if we both have our armies, are the armies equal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think they move the needle. I think this is a tempest in a teapot.
Yeah.
Honestly, when it comes down to it, I think the general audience is 100% unaware of, no insult to Nerdrotic. He's very large in the space. He's bigger than all of us. But I still don't think. I'll give you the example. PewDiePie. Most people have no idea who PewDiePie is when you walk down the street. Yet he was the biggest creator on this platform for a very long time.
Yep.
So I think that while YouTube represents 10% of all viewing now, according to the latest Nielsen statistics, it's still not influential enough that you can say that, all of us making fun of the Acolyte, well-deserved making fun of the Acolyte.
So I
still don't think it moved the needle.
Here's the problem with their strategy and the strategy of networks with streaming services overall. And this is a very good example. Is that, again, they're making shows that are not more special than what you're going to find on network TV or used to find on network TV. So this whole HBO formula I talked about before does not apply here. Secondly, there's still way more audience in over the air for Disney than over their 150 million theoretical subscribers, where they're not going to make any money. They would get way more audience if this was a network TV show. So for whatever reason, they've decided to eschew the advertising dollars and go on this stupid escapade. The third thing is, by making it a digital platform entity, they have now brought it into our universe.
Yep.
That's the problem. If they want to keep the audience away from the online audience, ourselves, Nerdrotic, everybody else, if they want to keep us away from this property, put it on network TV, where the millions of people in Iowa and Wisconsin have no idea who we are and can barely use the internet. Now, I'm being facetious here, but the point is, this is a complete backwards plan. I've been saying this over and over again. Put this stuff on your network. And if you've got an extended version or something else, then put it on your streaming. Well, but that way it also keeps it away from us.
This is a very good point, Paul, because when was the last time one of us complained about a ridiculous plot line on an episode of NCIS?
Correct.
A show which by all accounts trounces anything that Star Wars is putting out right now, but it doesn't enter into our sphere. So no one cares that the plot line doesn't make sense. This is obviously like a 15-year-old clip, but there's an episode of that show where two people use the same keyboard to try to fight a hacker. No one is mocking that online other than just, hey, there it is. But with the Acolyte, you're right. It's right in our wheelhouse.
It's part of our domain. It's a digital product. We are digital reviewers.
Well, and here's the problem for Disney. They're upside down on content watch versus review watch. So I was running the numbers just a minute ago because, Jonas was talking about Nerdrotic and, their size and all of that. And I pay close attention to the channels around us, of similar size. And so I thought, well, let's run some calculations here. And just going based off of the finale numbers for the Acolyte, it's somewhere between 4 and 5 million hours of watch time for the finale. Well, based on what I know with YouTube channels and the watch time that is acquired, guys, I'm here to tell you, I fully believe that there was more viewership of YouTube channels and their content covering the Acolyte than the Acolyte itself.
Oh,
Because if it
easily.
only, between 4 and 5 million watch hours, YouTube surpassed that in mocking it. So it was made fun of more and watched more mocking it and parodying it than it actually was viewed.
And that was for the night that WDW Pro was hosting it.
and for all of that, we want to say thank you very much to Lucasfilm for keeping the lights on here,
very much so,
and on that Park Place and on Nerdrotic, and when he chooses to call me Shadow. I know that Acolyte reviews were not necessarily your bread and butter, but you did them anyways, Paul.
I know.
Well, and here's something to think about. Did Star Wars Theory, the channel that covers Star Wars, the biggest Star Wars channel on YouTube, and that's not saying anything negative about Echo-based network, which we also love, but did Star Wars Theory beat the Acolyte all on its own? I don't know, but it's not out of the realm of possibility considering those numbers for that finale.
Definitely. Yeah, it probably definitely did. You see a lot of, the thing is, the people don't understand that YouTubers were the hardest hit by the Acolyte canceling. I heard so many of my friends were like, no, don't cancel the Acolyte. It's the best thing going. We need season 2. Like, help Leslie Headland, it's like, help her out, because if we don't get season 2, what are we going to do? And it's like, don't worry, guys. I'm sure Disney will come up with a brand new thing. We got Agatha Harkness. We got, Braveheart.
Rings of Power is right around the corner. Don't worry.
Yeah, but the Rings of Power is copyrighting it, copy striking everybody doing you got to do the whole like pause and look at the scene so beautifully. Somebody wearing their drapes as a suit.
I still can't get over the costuming decision here. He looks like he's wearing this costume backwards.
So in the same week that the Acolyte released its finale, Star Wars Theory had 3.2 million views in just that 1 week alone. Now, if you add that out, if you multiply that by however many, however long people spent with Star Wars Theory, so I don't know, maybe it's like an hour that they spent because they were watching these long podcasts where he was covering this. I don't know.
No, definitely.
But that's how badly Disney played this, is that the reviewers making fun of it were at least in the same league as the content itself. It's not where you want to be as Disney, and that's why these crocodile tears will do nothing for the industry whatsoever. Folks, we must say goodbye for now, but we have had such a grand time. The end is here for this video, but not for the channel, nay, for we are on the way with 3 more videos daily for you, and we have such great content coming from our partner channels as well. Make sure to go check out That Park Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and Vacation Radio, because we got tired of the pattern. Anyway, folks, we'll see you real soon. In the meantime, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.